Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Today I'm going to go through the top 5 list for each of the 4 classes that exist in the game. There's going to be Battlecruisers, Cruisers, Destroyers and Frigates. Now I am excluding all faction vessels from this top 5 list, and that is for 2 reasons. The faction ships are their own class altogether. All 15 of them are super elite for their particular ranges. They can fight very well against the various class of ships, and they don't really suit the norm for their particular class. Each one of them is way more powerful than the class is and can match at least 2 classes ahead. So a faction cruiser will be equal almost to a regular destroyer, not destroyer, sorry, to a regular battleship, and that is about how far that distance goes. But it is only equal in terms of how efficient they can be in terms of damage, but not in terms of how tanky and all the other stats around them. They can be defeated quite easily by higher power ships if they are engaged in the wrong conditions. So let's get into the battle cruiser list, with me talking about number 5 on my list, the weakest of the battle cruisers, the Drake. So the Drake will fall into my last category, and the reason for it is quite simple. The Drake is last on my list for several reasons. Number 1, it is still using medium weapons, but it is a missile boat, so it does consistent damage throughout any type of resistance. So it will take on the shield the same way that it will take on the armor. It will take on the hull the same way that it took on the first 2, because it has an overall damage dealing type that is very spread across the regions that it does damage on. Now moving on from the Drake will be my top 4 for this class, and that is going to be the assault battle cruisers. Now when I come to the assault battle cruisers, things are very different. Number 4 on the list will be the Talos. The reason for the Talos falling as number 4 is it can't use large equipment due to its heavy requirement using lasers. So since it uses lasers, it doesn't have the same efficiency as the Naga. It's also a little bit weaker. It can't really play the close range fight with the same efficiency as the Naga. So I am going to rate it on the bottom of this tier. Now moving up from it will be the Oracle. In no way is the Oracle really at this point. All 4 of these ships are really fantastic, but the top 3 are very interchangeable. The Oracle has one of the most versatile long-range fighting tactics ever, and you can use it at a very, very large distance. So that is the Oracle. Moving up from the Oracle will be the Tornado at number 2. The reason why I chose the Tornado is, once more, it has massive range, but unlike the other ships in this class, it is highly effective against armor, and it will make a big difference in a lot of fights. So since it is effective against armor, it has taken the second spot on this list, and obviously number 1 is the Naga. The Naga is capable of running large equipment in its third slot, so that gives it a massive boost in terms of power. It also has a large grid on the ship that makes it very useful for close range or long range combat, and due to its versatility, I have given it number 1. Now I'm not going through the ships right now. That's because later, maybe in the week, maybe next week, you're going to receive a top 5 build video from me and Randy. Now when it comes to these are going to be the total PvP fits, and we are going to be describing them as they are for high-end combat. So let's move down to cruisers. Now in the cruiser class of ships, I am going to start this off with an interdictor. Now the reason for this is quite simple. The interdictor plays one of the biggest roles in PvP fighting, and all of these lists are for PvP, by the way. They aren't PvE only. Now when it comes to PvP for these ships, heavy interdictors are one of the best ships. They're bigger, they're more tanky, they can last a little bit longer in the front line of fire, and obviously they can be mistaken for the guardians in the same class. So if you have an interdictor in this class, someone can easily lock onto the wrong let me just see if there is a guardian. So yeah, no, not yet available. Obviously you have to wait for level 10. That's at least a year and a half away. So the Blackbird interdictor is going to be my choice. Any one of these interdictors will fall into this category. They are all interchangeable. They can do a fair amount of DPS, unlike the destroyers. They have a fair amount of range because they obviously can use medium weapons. They also have a fair amount of durability because they have more effective defense to start with, and with the research added to it, they become a lot tougher in that particular class. So that is why interdictors, in my opinion, are so efficient and fill in that particular category. Now, moving up, obviously there is the option of snipers. However, I'm not choosing the snipers for one reason and one reason alone. They have slightly lower overall defense to their Navy issue class vessels. Let me just double check this. I might be wrong. Yeah, it's slightly lower. It does make a big difference, but they do have 3 slots. So when it comes to this here, I'm going to count them as interchangeable. You could use one and use the other. It wouldn't make such a huge difference. Actually, it does make a big difference because they lose a low slot, if I am correct. No, they gain a low slot and they have the 5 weapons. So the snipers do win. They have more overall power. So, okay. I'm going to go with them in order right now. So, fourth to first. So, fourth on the list will be the Caracal Sniper. Now, there's a simple reason why I'm putting the Caracal at that position. The Caracal is one of the best missile class cruisers. It does have a lot of power, but it does fall short on several key points, and that becomes range for medium weapons. That is why they fill in the lowest slot of the top 5. That is by opinion, and you can swap around the snipers by your opinion, obviously, if you're going to use them in a different manner. Now, following that will be the Stabber Sniper. Now, the Stabber Sniper is a very long range sniper. It gives you that ability to really hit at a massive distance, and with the extra low slot, you can actually increase your distance with your rate of fire by quite a bit. So that is the one advantage of having a Stabber. Now, moving on from that comes the Vexor Sniper. Once more, longer range, better DPS, all-round improvement to that vessel. You can always use the Vexor for that class. Vexor Sniper gives you a better usage for your low slots. And last but not least, the first on the list will be the Omen Sniper. Now, I'm leaving Omen as number 1. In my mind, it's undisputed because it has the most capacitor for any of the cruisers. It has the most efficient weapon system in terms of lasers. It can do a long range assault just like the Stabber fleet issue, and it has the ability to combat for a prolonged period of time. So that is where the Omen Sniper falls in my category as number 1 on my list of the top 5. So let's move on to destroyers. Now, destroyers are a bit of a different story. I'm not even going to choose anything from the regular class. I'm not even going to touch anything with the Navy issue in this class, and that's for 3 reasons. Number 1, the Navy issues in this class are very low power. They don't have the same efficiency as the assault interdictors or any of the other highest sorts within this class. And first of all, I'm going to choose an interdictor. Now, these are interdictors. They obviously have the ability to jam your movement, and that is why they hold the 5th slot. Just like the heavier class, which was above it in cruisers, but these are a lot weaker. That is why they only slot in number 5 on this list. And you will find that this class becomes a bit different because a lot of ships are going to fall in a similar category as I go through. So any one that is available is exactly the same in my opinion. I am going to choose the Thresher as my first option and the Cormorant as my second option. So 5th and 4th come from the interdictors. Now, there is a simple reason why I chose it to be this way that makes them both very, very usable, and they are very available. Now, I'm not choosing a Corsair interdictor or a Catalyst interdictor purely out of opinion. I'm choosing those 2 because the rest of them all fall into a similar class, and it's only going to be 3 more ships. Okay, so next on my list for destroyers at 3rd place will be the Corax Sniper and the Algo Sniper. Now, they both fall into a tie just like the interdictors, and all of these that are available will be similar. The 2 drone boats will be on the same class as the 2 weapon primary assault ships. So they all fall in the same class. Obviously, the covert ops aren't being used because they're level 10. We haven't touched them as yet. And this is top 5 in the game, by the way, in case you didn't know that. So they will fall in my top 5 in that order. That will make it the Corsair, the 2 interdictors. That's the Cormorant and the Thresher, or the Thresher and the Cormorant, whichever way you want it to go. That's 5th and 4th. And then third and second will be the Corax and the Algo Sniper. And the best ship, in my opinion, in this particular class will be the Command Destroyers in the Guardian class, and I am going to give it to the Corsair Guardian. Now, the reason for this one you're being chosen is because of the increased amount of durability due to the shield field. Now, the shield field does boost it up by quite a bit. It only gives it a small amount of time to survive extra, but it is almost as efficient as the other ships that I have chosen. So that is why it falls in number 1 on my list, and that is what I'm going to choose for my top 5 destroyers. Obviously, if you have figured it out, I don't really like the regular destroyers, and that's because I find them to be very squashy, and they're not really as efficient as their higher end counterparts. As you can see, 4,700 is their basic defense. If I compare it against the assault, it's not going to be that much of a difference. They only can last 2 shots if they take it direct, without any hardness, without any resistance, without any speed. That's where they stand. So they're not really that durable, but against the higher end, they have more firepower, so that is why they win overall. And let's move up to the top of the list, the last 5 on my top 5 list, which will be the frigates. Now, please bear with me. My frigates are all going to go right at the top, and I am not choosing an interceptor. Interceptors are way too expensive for this class of vessel. So here's my choice for 5th, 4th, and 3rd. There is going to be the Merlin Assault, the Punisher Assault, and the Imicus Assault. All 3 will fall into 5th, 4th, and 3rd. That is because 2 of them are railguns. I obviously didn't really put a lot of thought into where I'm putting them, but they have their ability to do extended DPS, and that makes them fantastic for their class. Now, one of these ships is very similar to my top class pick, and it is also going to be the top class in this class. And the next one on my list will be the Probe Covert Ops. Being one of the fastest targeters in the game, it is capable of stopping enemies when they try to run through you at a gate camp, and it is used for most catching of ships. You obviously can't catch other frigates because of the movement time versus your targeting time, and those super fast speeds make a major difference in combat. That is why the Probe Covert Ops is sitting in this particular class. Now, as for number 1, it goes to stealth bombers. All 4 of these stealth bombers I count as the exact same class. I don't differentiate between them. They all only use torpedoes, and they don't just use any type of torpedo, they use medium torpedoes, making these the most powerful ship for their class, with the massive advantage of a larger weapon system. So the Manticore is going to be my choice from this class, just because I like the shape of it. So Manticore will be number 1, and that is where I'm going to place the list. So that was my top 5 of each class, ranked from Battlecruiser all the way up to frigates. Now, later in the week or next week, you're going to be receiving a video series from me and another YouTuber or 2 YouTubers, where we go through a series of our best PvP builds for these top 5 vessels. And I hope that you all do enjoy. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.